On this Thursday night, Toronto firefighters continue to fight a stubborn fire and struggle to endure the bitter cold.
It's extremely demanding. It is bitterly cold.
The fire broke out at a Scarborough Rec Center. Lifeguards fleeing the building still in swimsuits. Plus,
and it is a blueprint for the privatization of our healthcare system.
the NDP says a leaked bill shows the province is planning a new super agency to oversee Ontario's healthcare system. And you'll still have to bundle up tomorrow. What's behind the deep freeze gripping so much of the continent? Good evening, I'm Mike Wise. Fire crews continue to battle a 5-alarm fire at the Agincourt Recreation Centre near Shepherd and Midland. The first crews arrived just before 5 o'clock, and now more than 6 hours later, the fire has still not been fully knocked down. And tonight's extreme cold is making the work of doing that even tougher. Let's go live now to our Adrian Chung, who's been at the scene of this fire on this very cold night all evening. So Adrian, fill us in on what you know.
Well, Mike, 6 hours after that fire was first reported, it has still not been put out. Crews are still on hand here. You can see just over my shoulder that there are 2 ladders working, trying to go over the roof, trying to get to the seat of the fire, but it still hasn't worked because we have seen flames shooting out of the roof of the building. At this point, it has become so difficult to fight this fire. The fire chief said because largely of the structure, it's primarily made out of timber, but fortunately, there have been no injuries to report. The building was able to be evacuated fairly quickly when the call first came in. But what has made this fight even more difficult is how punishing the cold has been. It has been absolutely relentless with the wind chill overnight. It's supposed to feel like minus 29. And it's become so hard for firefighters that they've had to move more crews here to help spell off the ones that are already here, that have been out here for hours, who are exhausted, who are frozen. Here's the fire chief, Matthew Pegg, on how difficult this fight has been.
We're really having trouble getting access and getting in between that void space in the roof. So our command team right now is briefing. They're looking at options to potentially put crews on the roof and look at some techniques that we call trench cutting, really to expose, give us access to the fire. There's a lot of ice to deal with, and the equipment that they're wearing and using is freezing solid.
Can't imagine how difficult it is for them tonight, Adrian. But on top of the cold, firefighters are also dealing with potentially dangerous pool chemicals inside that building. What can you tell us about that?
That's right. So the fire is believed to have started close to the pool maintenance room, and certainly close to that, they identified that there were some chemicals that could obviously make that an accelerant and also make it a more dangerous, more toxic fight for firefighters. Here's the chief again on where they stand with those chemicals.
Crews have been able to make safe entry into the building and have confirmed, directly confirmed, that the chemicals that we were concerned about in both the arena and the pool side of the building are contained and safe.
So at this point, the fire chief says that there is no timeline for when this fire will be knocked down. Again, we saw flames up on the roof just about an hour ago, and they are still working as hard as they've been since when we got here, Mike. So I'll send it back to you for now.
A lot of tough work ahead of them. Thank you, Adrian. Well, the struggle faced by those firefighters, just the latest caused by the Arctic air hanging over our city. Today was yet another day where the deep freeze played havoc with some rail and air travel. The TTC's Line 3 in Scarborough shut down for yet another day. Shuttle buses are servicing the section instead. The trains have been on and off since Monday night. The entire line is open air, which means blowing snow can get wedged into the power rail system. The TTC could not say when regular train service would resume. And the Up Express operating at a limited capacity, running every 45 minutes tonight instead of the usual 15. The extreme cold also affecting flights into and out of both Pearson and Billy Bishop airports. And we aren't out of the woods yet. Wind chill values into the minus 20s are expected to stick around until tomorrow night. Chris Glover has more on the science behind this deep freeze.
It's the kind of cold you have to feel to understand.
I can barely see in there.
Oh, okay.
It's pretty cold out here, hey?
Yeah, it's pretty cold.
This is Jerry Shao's first Canadian winter.
I feel like I'm dying, like walking outside.
I don't know, I think it's a little dangerous because like some people weren't really prepared for it.
Oh my god, it's freezing. Like you come outside and it's almost like it takes your breath away and you just immediately want to get somewhere warm.
The polar vortex is nothing new. It encircles the North Pole with frigid air, but since 2014, it's been icing cities further and further south. NASA imagery from Tuesday shows how unusually far south Arctic air is this week.
What do you think causes all this extreme cold weather?
I really don't have any idea.
Well, I believe climate change, 100%. I totally believe that.
U.S. President Trump thinks global warming has frozen in its tracks. This week, he tweeted for it to come back fast.
What do you make of a tweet like that from the president?
Yeah, so obviously Donald is confusing weather and climate. So weather is what happens from day to day, and some days it's cold like today, and some days it's warm. The climate is longer-term averages of the weather. And
how common is that confusion?
I think it's quite common. People see a day like today and say, where is exactly that? But the point is that when you look over 10 or 20 or 30 years, Toronto is warming up.
NASA says 17 of the warmest years in the planet's record books all occurred since 2001, and 2016 was the warmest. And that heat could be leading to our deep chill.
We could be seeing more extreme events. It could just be that we're more in tune to them because they're impacting us more and more now.
This University of Toronto physics professor says scientists know the planet is warming and there's more precipitation.
So these changes are happening. They're just an indication that the climate is changing, and we need to do something about it because these things have become more extreme.
The Insurance Bureau of Canada says extreme weather caused $2 billion worth of insured damage in 2018 alone, which just goes to show you the amount of cost that's associated with severe weather in Canada. Chris Glover, CBC News, Toronto.
Carla Kennedy's back tonight with her first look at the forecast. We've got to talk about this extreme cold still in the grip of the city.
We do, Mike. We still have this, and we are going to have to contend with it for another night, another day, and then we start to see light at the end of the tunnel. In fact, I'm pretty excited. Later in the show, we'll take a look at the temperature trend that's coming our way. But for now, we really have to focus on what we have, the air mass that's in place. Yes, with our polar vortex, and we're talking about tonight, those wind chills feeling -30 to -35. We still have those strong winds, and those have been enough to continue to drive some of the snow squalls that we've been seeing. But through the overnight, they're going to ease a little. It's actually through the day tomorrow they get much better, and you see how on our systems map here that things just kind of disappear in terms of those squalls. Now, cloud cover doesn't disappear when we're going into Saturday. We're going to see the clouds come in. There's quite a bit of sunshine on Friday, but Saturday the clouds come back. Could have some flurries for the GTA. We'll see squalls setting up as the winds pick up once again, and then it's Saturday night into Sunday. We'll find the temperatures really beginning to spike as we get into that southerly flow. So we'll talk about that and the precipitation to come later, but overnight tonight it's -22 feeling almost -35. Tomorrow afternoon -12. That daytime high is where we should be really for an overnight low. It's going to feel like -19, but lots of sunshine and then the clouds a few more in the afternoon, Mike.
All right, thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
Well, we got two big indications today that changes are on the way for Ontario's health system. First, a new report on hospital overcrowding, then a leaked bill that would give the province the power to force hospitals to merge or close. Our Queen's Park reporter Mike Crawley has the details.
It's called hallway healthcare. Patients in Ontario hospitals waiting for proper beds. An overcrowding problem that Premier Doug Ford is promising to fix.
I heard about the nightmare stories about the 4-hour waits, the 5-hour waits, the 6-hour waits.
A first step in tackling those waits comes today from Ford's special advisor on healthcare, Dr. Ruben Devlin.
So adding beds is, first of all, is not going to solve the problem. It's costly, and it's not what patients want.
Devlin's report finds that too many people are occupying hospital beds when they don't need to, because the care they actually need isn't available. The solutions must be found outside hospitals, says Devlin.
To provide better primary care, better home care and more long-term care.
So what does the Ford government have in store for the health system? Andrea Horvath thinks she's found out.
And it is a blueprint for the privatization of our healthcare system.
This is the bill that was leaked to the NDP. It would dissolve Ontario's local health integration networks, something that the CBC revealed was in the works a couple of weeks ago. It would also create a super agency to oversee the whole healthcare system, and that agency would have a lot of power.
This bill is going to create an agency that is then going to farm out healthcare services.
The agency would have the authority to force hospitals to stop offering certain services, to transfer locations, or even shut down. The health minister insists it's not a done deal.
This is a very early draft of legislation.
But Christine Elliott does not deny that change is coming.
Our healthcare system is on life support. It's not working for the people of Ontario. It needs a transformative strategy, and that's what we're working on.
Mike Crawley, CBC News, Toronto.
Still ahead, she is the nurse who admitted to killing 8 seniors, but did she actually kill one more? A CBC Toronto exclusive story, Elizabeth Wetlaufer's admission that was never made public.
We had to go through court, we had to go through inquiries, and now this comes up. So basically, where do we stand now? Are there more charges out there? Are there more bodies out there? What?
Ryerson University is freezing payments to its student union after reports of a $250,000 credit card bill. The school says a forensic audit of the union's expenses is underway, and it will withhold regular payments until that probe is complete. The allegations of mismanagement first emerged in the school's student newspaper. It reported a number of questionable purchases like hotel stays and assisted lounges and purchases at the LCBO. The RSU is a separate entity from the school, but the university says the union must still comply with its bylaws, policies, and the law. Families victimized by serial killer Elizabeth Wetlaufer are reacting with outrage today after CBC News revealed police were aware that the former nurse had attacked another elderly patient. Now, police decided not to charge her with the crime, but what's more, the attack was also never divulged at the public inquiry into how her crimes went undetected. John Lancaster has this CBC exclusive.
I had a lot of emotion. I was totally shocked. I was dismayed. I was disappointed.
Arpad Horvath wants answers. His father, Arpad Horvath Sr., was murdered in this London, Ontario care home back in 2014. He was injected with lethal amounts of insulin by disgraced nurse Elizabeth Wetlaufer. CBC News has obtained this partially redacted police report that reveals Wetlaufer also attacked a second patient at the facility that day, a 77-year-old woman identified as Florence Beadall. The report says police had no evidence to prove the injection killed Miss Beadall, only that Wetlaufer committed an assault with a weapon. According to the police report, Wetlaufer confessed to the attack, saying she wanted to hasten the victim's death.
No one would have suspected any type of foul play at all.
But police never told the public about the crime, and the public inquiry that spent months investigating why her other crimes went undetected for so long didn't reveal it either.
We had to go through court, we had to go through inquiries, and now this comes up. So basically, where do we stand now? Are there more charges out there? Are there more bodies out there? What?
Lawyer Alex Van Kralingen represented some of the families of Wetlaufer's victims at the inquiry.
What's most disappointing is if public officials, namely the police and possibly the local Crown in Southwest Ontario, knew about this and did not share that information with the public inquiry, who was tasked with understanding why we didn't learn about this earlier. I appreciate that there's an irony with that.
Wetlaufer is serving a life sentence for killing 8 patients and trying to harm or kill 6 others. The OPP says the Attorney General's office determined there was no point in charging her again. The OPP say they told the inquiry about the attack. The inquiry's top lawyer says that's news to him, but he wouldn't answer questions about what, if anything, the inquiry now plans to do about it. John Lancaster, CBC News, Toronto.
The Transportation Safety Board is calling for changes at Pearson Airport after it found 2 runways with a dangerous track record. 27 near misses in the past 5 years. The problem is that planes are mistakenly crossing from one runway to another one that's already in use. Farah Morali has more on what the TSB says needs to be done to fix the problem.
It's an airport that manages 400,000 flights a year.
The Transportation Safety Board of Canada has identified a troubling pattern at Pearson International, specifically at its 2 southern runways.
And according to a new report, it's also the site of an unusually high number of near collisions between planes. They're happening in the same place, seen in this point of view video. Between 2012 and 2017, incursions happened here 27 times. The problem is happening at 2 parallel runways at the south side of Pearson that are close together. They're connected to each other with several strips, where an aircraft can move from one strip to another. The incursions are taking place when one plane that is landed on the left runway approaches the right runway where a plane is taking off. The plane on the left is supposed to stop at the red line at a 65-degree angle. The TSB says this design is different from almost every other airport in the continent. It found planes are not stopping, either because the line is not where crews expect it to be, or flight crews are distracted with post-landing procedures, or not recognizing the cues to stop.
The TSB is now making 3 recommendations. The first is for air traffic controllers to give more emphatic and urgent instructions to flight crews so they actually listen. The second is to change the rules so that flight crews do their post-landing procedures and checks after they finish maneuvering the runways so that they're not as distracted. The third and most significant recommendation is for Pearson International to actually change the physical layout of those runways.
Today, the union that represents Air Canada pilots said it welcomes the report's findings.
We want to be all speaking the same language, so to speak, when it comes to safety, and we hope that these recommendations, attempt to do that through standardization and improve the margin of safety at Toronto Pearson.
What's unclear is if Pearson will move ahead with the physical changes to the runways. It said improvements were already made in 2013 and 2018. It issued a statement which said in part, while these improvements have had a significant impact, incursions in this area continue. And as such, we will continue to work with industry partners to maintain our safe operating environment. While the TSB is urging the airport and the other authorities to make the changes, none of its recommendations it's put out are binding. Farah Morali, CBC News, Toronto.
We have one more night of the deep freeze to endure. We might even see the snow start to melt this weekend. Colette's back after the break.
The weather update is brought to you by Train Extreme Conditions Testing. It's hard to stop a train, really hard. Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
Colette joins us again with her extended forecast. Now, you were talking about a warm-up on the way, but overnight and tomorrow sure didn't seem that way.
Yes, that's right. We've still got this extreme cold warning in place, so very serious in terms of the cold temperatures and feeling like minus 35 again overnight tonight. But I'm pretty excited to show you what the trend is going to be as we move ahead and get closer towards the weekend and through the weekend to the beginning of next week. So the high tomorrow just minus 12. That is, though, slightly better than where we've been. And then as we move forward, still really cold conditions, by the way, back here into the prairies. But look what happens as we go towards Saturday. In fact, I'm taking us up to 0. This model -1, it's close. Then into Sunday, 3 degrees. Some precipitation moves in. It may start as some light flurry activity, but turning over to some drizzle or showers. And then certainly we're looking at it being showery activity into Monday because the temperature going up 5 to 7 degrees. I'm going a little warmer than this one. Maybe I'm being optimistic, but I like the idea. We are definitely going to be seeing a warming trend. Now, it will come with some windy conditions again, and those winds are actually going to help to pick those temperatures up. Speaking of the winds, they've been driving some of the drifting and blowing snow, but also So the squalls that we've been seeing, those will be easing up as we go through the day tomorrow. And because of that, we'll see those squalls backing off. We'll have sunshine for the GTA, but a few more clouds come in as we get later on through the day, and especially then Friday night into Saturday. Could have some flurries as well early in the day on Saturday as this disturbance moves through, and we'll keep the cloud cover in place, but I don't think folks are going to mind too much because, again, we're going to start to see those temperatures rising as soon as Saturday. And the winds kind of show you the story here. So I said they'd be easing off tonight into tomorrow, helping with the squalls, but watch what happens as we go a little bit further into the weekend. Getting strong again, it's just the direction here, coming more from the south-southwest, and that's what's going to help really get things warming up around here again. Wind chill near -30 for southwestern Ontario, and your temperatures -22 to -23. Late overnight, we could see some flurry activity and into the morning hours, and then a clearing trend into the afternoon. -12 winds are for you tomorrow, feeling in the afternoon even like -18 still. And for the GTA, the wind chills again. This is why we have the extreme cold warning, and as well for southwestern Ontario, by the way. And those winds will be easing up as we go into the afternoon hours tomorrow, so it gets a little bit better, but you still have to deal with these wind chills and temperatures around -12 degrees. Here's how it looks in the 5-day forecast then. Saturday, 0. Yes, the cloud cover moves in. Sunday, light flurries to a bit of drizzle, but 3 degrees. Windy conditions again into Monday, but 7 with those showers. And then Tuesday, the door starts to close on us, and the temperature begins to come down again, but still above freezing, Mike.
Above freezing, but I'm worried about some flooding on Monday with all those showers.
It's a good point. We've had so much snow, right? And then we're going to be having to deal with the rain on top of that and the melting. We've got a lot ahead of us.
Find some drains and clear them out on the weekend. Thanks a lot,
That's
Colette.
a great idea. You're welcome.
The Raptors hosting the Bucks tonight with the winner taking top spot in the Eastern Conference. Toronto did get off to a good start. Kawhi Leonard with the steal goes all the way to throw it down. But Milwaukee only started making play after play after play. Giannis Antetokounmpo going up against Kawhi and making it look rather easy. Pascal Siakam did try to spark the Raptors in the final quarter. Toronto would pull within 6, but couldn't get any closer. The Bucks would win 105-92. And before the game, the NBA announced Kyle Lowry would be going to his 5th straight All-Star game. He was named a reserve and will join Kawhi Leonard in Charlotte. Lowry finished 6th amongst Eastern Conference guards in fan voting. It's the 4th straight season the Raptors have had more than one All-Star. We'll be right back.
I'm probably gonna cry. I've been waiting for this moment for a long time. Coming here as a refugee, I knew that I have some skill sets of going through struggles of life that I could easily translate to this job to help other people.
We first told you about Alain Arakaza a few weeks ago. He fled a civil war in Burundi nearly a decade ago with his family. Today, he graduated to officially become a Toronto police officer.
What I'm looking most in my new role as a police officer is to impact people, especially youth. And as I coming here as a refugee myself, having been on the other side of, poverty and stuff like that, I want to be able to help and make an impact in people's life.
He was one of 55 cadets to graduate today. And congratulations to all of them. That's our show for tonight. We'll see you back here tomorrow night at 11 o'clock. Good night.